The vast alien warship hung in orbit above Earth like a dark cloud promising storm. Inside its command center, Admiral Rex of the Stellar Empire watched the primitive blue planet with 6 of his eyes while his other 4 focused on the battle reports. His species had conquered 17 worlds before this one, but none had given them such trouble as these, humans. Another squad lost in Sector 7, reported Captain Mal, his metallic exoskeleton clicking as he moved. The human they cornered, it was already wounded, bleeding, yet it fought back. It shouldn't have been possible. Rex's scales rippled with irritation. How could these soft-skinned creatures resist their superior technology? The Empire's soldiers stood 3 meters tall, protected by the finest battle armor in the galaxy. Their weapons could reduce buildings to ash. Yet somehow, these humans kept fighting. On the surface of Earth, in the ruins of what was once a peaceful city, Private Tom Walker pressed his hand against the bleeding wound in his side. He was the last survivor of his unit, separated from the main resistance force during the chaos of the alien invasion. His rifle had only half a magazine left, and his radio was dead. The aliens had him surrounded in the remains of an old warehouse. He could hear their heavy footsteps, the whir of their powered armor, the clicks of their alien language as they coordinated their attack. By all logic, he should surrender. He was outnumbered 20-1, injured, and alone. But humans had never been very good at giving up. Tom checked his wound again. The alien weapon had burned through his combat vest, leaving an ugly gash across his ribs. It hurt like hell, but it hadn't hit anything vital. He could still move, and that meant he could still fight. Outside, Commander Zix of the Empire's elite guard prepared his troops for the final assault. Their scanners showed only one human life sign inside the building, but experience had taught them to be cautious. These creatures had an unsettling ability to exceed their physical limitations. Remember, Zix transmitted to his squad, do not engage in close combat. The last team that tried. He left the sentence unfinished. Everyone had seen the footage of that disaster. Tom heard them moving into position. His training kicked in, and he began to plan. The warehouse had 2 levels, with plenty of shadows and debris for cover. The aliens relied heavily on their technology, their thermal imaging, motion sensors, and energy shields. But Tom had noticed something during previous encounters: their advanced systems sometimes struggled with simple solutions. He pulled out a small mirror from his survival kit and broke it into pieces. Then he took off his dog tags and tied them to a length of wire from the debris. The aliens were smart, but they thought like machines. They expected logical responses, strategic retreats, or desperate last stands. They weren't prepared for human creativity. Tom scattered the mirror shards across the floor, positioning them carefully. He hung the dog tags where they would catch any movement of air. Then he pulled out his last smoke grenade and waited. The aliens breached the warehouse from 3 points simultaneously, their energy weapons charged and ready. Their sensors immediately began picking up multiple anomalies, scattered heat signatures from the mirrors reflecting the ambient temperature, movement from the swaying dog tags, and then Tom threw the smoke grenade. The alien sensors, calibrated for precision, suddenly went haywire trying to process the smoke particles. In their confusion, they didn't immediately notice the sound of footsteps, limping but purposeful, moving directly toward them. Through their scattered sensor readings, they saw a figure emerge from the smoke. It was the human, wounded and bleeding, armed with nothing but a primitive projectile weapon. But it wasn't retreating or surrendering. It was advancing. The aliens' collective combat recordings processed this information against their extensive tactical databases and found no logical explanation for this behavior. A wounded prey species should not advance toward superior predators. It defied every combat protocol they knew. And then the human smiled. That expression, combined with the illogical advance, triggered something primal in the aliens' highly evolved brains. For the first time in their species' history of conquest, they felt an emotion they had never experienced before: fear. The human took another step forward, and the entire alien squad took a step back. In orbit, Admiral Rex watched in disbelief as the tactical display showed his elite guard breaking formation. "What are they doing?" he demanded. Captain Mal's voice trembled as he replied, "Sir, they're retreating." The human kept walking forward, and the alien army kept backing away, their superior technology and training forgotten in the face of something they couldn't understand: the sheer, illogical determination of a wounded human who simply refused to give up. The news of the elite guard's retreat spread through the Stellar Empire's fleet like a virus. Admiral Rex paced the command center, his scaled skin changing colors with anger and confusion. In his 3 centuries of military service, he had never witnessed anything like this. "Show me the combat footage again," he commanded, all 10 of his eyes fixed on the main screen. The images played out once more: the smoke, the scattered sensor readings, and that lone human advancing despite its wounds. There must be something we're missing. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, Tom Walker had turned the aliens' retreat into an opportunity. He knew he couldn't keep up the advance forever, his wound was still bleeding, and the adrenaline would eventually wear off. But he had created something more powerful than any weapon: doubt. The alien soldiers watched from a distance as the human limped through the ruins of the city, leaving a trail of red blood but never falling, never stopping. Their advanced combat systems recorded everything, trying to make sense of this biological impossibility. According to their scans, the human had lost enough blood to render most species unconscious. Yet it kept moving, kept scanning its surroundings with alert eyes, kept holding its weapon ready. Captain Mal approached Admiral Rex with a data tablet. "Sir, we've analyzed the human's biological readings. They don't make sense. Their pain threshold exceeds our models, their endurance defies our calculations, and their psychological profile." He paused, mandibles clicking nervously. "Sir, they show no signs of fear. Not even primitive survival fear." In the city below, Tom found what he was looking for: a resistance communication hub hidden in the basement of a collapsed shopping center. He could feel the aliens watching him, tracking his every move, but they maintained their distance. Their uncertainty was his shield. He activated the emergency beacon, and within minutes, a familiar voice crackled through his radio. "Walker? Is that really you, you crazy bastard?" "Still here, Command," Tom replied, his voice rough but steady. "And I've got some interesting news about our visitors." Back on the alien flagship, Admiral Rex received an urgent report. More human forces were converging on the area, and his troops were requesting permission to withdraw to a safer distance. The mighty elite guard, terror of 17 conquered worlds, was afraid of engaging with wounded humans. "Impossible," Rex muttered, but he knew he had to understand this phenomenon. He opened a channel to the science division. "I want everything we have on human biology, psychology, and combat doctrine. There must be an explanation for this defiance of natural law." The science division's response was quick but unsettling. "Admiral, we've been analyzing the data. Humans are the only species we've encountered who become more dangerous when injured. They have a biological and psychological response they call fight or flight, but unlike other species, they can consciously choose fight even when all logic demands a flight." Tom reached the resistance stronghold just as sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and red. The alien ships hovered at a distance, their weapons silent. His fellow soldiers helped him to the medical bay, where doctors immediately began treating his wound. "You're not going to believe this," one of the resistance fighters told him, "but the aliens are pulling back all across the sector. Something about your little walk scared them badly." Tom managed a tired smile. "They don't understand us," he said. "They think everything should follow their logic, their rules. But humans..." He winced as the doctor cleaned his wound. Humans have been defying logic since we first crawled out of the caves. It's what we do best. Above the city, Admiral Rex made a decision that would change the course of the war. He opened a channel to the Empire's high command and spoke the words no admiral had ever spoken before: "We request permission to revise our invasion strategy. These humans, they're not like the others. When we hurt them, they don't break. They become something else, something that our weapons and technology can't predict or control. They become unstoppable." The High Command's response to Admiral Rex's report was swift and unprecedented. Within hours, a delegation of the Empire's most respected scientists arrived on the flagship. Their mission: to understand how a species could violate what they had always believed to be universal laws of survival. Dr. Vix, the lead xenobiologist, reviewed the footage of Tom Walker's advance for the 100th time. "Look here," she said, pointing at the medical readings with one of her smaller arms while her primary limbs typed rapidly. "The human's body is releasing chemicals that should be causing extreme distress, but instead, they seem to be enhancing its combat effectiveness." In the resistance stronghold below, Tom had become something of a legend. The doctors had patched him up, but insisted he rest. However, true to human nature, he was already trying to get back to active duty. "The wound isn't fully healed," the base doctor warned him. "You need at least a week of recovery." Tom sat up on his medical bed, watching the alien ships through the reinforced window. "They're studying us," he said. "Every minute we give them is a minute they might figure out how to counter what they fear about us." The doctor sighed, recognizing that particular glint in Tom's eyes. It was the same look that had made an alien army retreat, that uniquely human mix of determination and what some might call foolishness. Meanwhile, aboard the flagship, Dr. Vix made a disturbing discovery. "Admiral," she called, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. "We've been analyzing their information networks, their internet. These humans, they have countless historical records of injured individuals not just surviving but achieving impossible victories. They call them heroes, and they teach these stories to their young." Admiral Rex's scales shifted to a pale shade. "You mean they deliberately cultivate this trait? They encourage it?" "Worse," another scientist added. "They celebrate it. Their entertainment, their education, their very culture revolves around the concept of overcoming overwhelming odds. They have somehow turned their biological defiance of death into a cornerstone of their civilization." The resistance leaders had gathered for an emergency meeting. Intelligence suggested that the alien fleet was behaving strangely, with unusual energy readings coming from their ships. They were up to something, but what? Tom, against medical advice, attended the meeting. "They're afraid of us now," he explained to the gathered commanders. "But fear makes some creatures more dangerous. We need to act before they find a way to overcome their fear." Back on the flagship, Dr. Vix presented her final analysis to Admiral Rex and the High Command via holographic transmission. "The humans have a saying, wounded animals are the most dangerous. But they are unique in that they can consciously channel and control this danger. Every injury, every setback, seems to unlock new levels of capability. They call it, rising to the occasion." One of the High Command members spoke up, their image flickering. "Can we develop a weapon to suppress this trait?" Dr. Vix's secondary arms trembled as she responded. "That's just it, sir. Their historical records show that every attempt to break their will has only made them stronger. The more you wound them, the more dangerous they become. And now..." She paused, bringing up the latest sensor readings. "Now they're gathering. The injured human's display of defiance has inspired others. Our psychological warfare algorithms predict that if we continue this invasion, we risk triggering a species-wide demonstration of this trait." Admiral Rex felt a cold sensation in his core. "You mean?" "Yes," Dr. Vix confirmed. "If we don't change our approach immediately, we could find ourselves facing an entire planet of humans who are all choosing to be as unstoppable as that one injured soldier. Our weapons are useless against their willpower, and our technology cannot compute their illogical courage. We are facing something our empire has never encountered before, a species that becomes stronger when we try to weaken it. Down in the Resistance base, Tom walked to the window, his bandaged wound a badge of honor rather than a mark of defeat. He watched as the alien ships above began to shift formation, knowing that humanity's greatest strength had always been its refusal to submit to the impossible. The aliens were about to learn an important lesson. On Earth, legends don't just inspire fear, they inspire others to become legends themselves. The Stellar Empire's High Command faced a crisis unlike any in their 1,000-year history. Their vast holographic chamber buzzed with nervous energy as reports flooded in from Earth. More humans were emerging from their hiding places, many of them wounded, all of them advancing toward alien positions with the same terrifying determination that Tom Walker had shown. "The infection is spreading," Captain Mal reported, his exoskeleton vibrating with anxiety. "We're seeing injured humans leading charges across all continents. Our troops, they're struggling to maintain their positions." Admiral Rex watched the tactical displays with all 10 of his eyes, each one tracking a different human uprising. "How are they coordinating this? We've blocked their primary communication networks." The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Vix burst into the command center, her scientific composure shattered. "Admiral, you need to see this. The humans, they're sharing videos of the first incident. They're using something they call inspiration to replicate the psychological effect." On Earth's surface, the Resistance had indeed found its greatest weapon, hope. Shaky footage of Tom Walker's wounded advance had spread through hidden networks, encrypted channels, and even old-fashioned word of mouth. Every survivor who saw it understood the message: the aliens could be rattled, could be made to retreat, not by superior technology but by sheer human determination. In a Resistance bunker in another city, a wounded soldier named Jack watched the video for the 10th time. His leg had been badly burned in an alien attack, but seeing Tom Walker's defiant walk awakened something primal in him. If he can do it, Jack told his fellow survivors, so can we. The alien sensors detected Jack and his group emerging from their hideout. The readings were clear, they were all injured, all showing signs of severe trauma, yet all moving with purposeful strides toward the nearest alien position. Multiple human signatures detected, an alien scout reported, their voice crackling with static and something else, fear. They're all wounded, but they're not behaving according to any known combat doctrine. Request immediate withdrawal to safe distance. Dr. Vix's research team worked frantically to understand this cascading effect. "It's like a chain reaction," she explained to the High Command. "Each human who displays this trait doesn't just frighten our forces, they inspire more humans to manifest the same characteristic. They're weaponizing their own injuries against us." Admiral Rex received reports of similar incidents worldwide. In every theater of war, injured humans were emerging from the rubble of their cities, leading charges that sent alien squadrons into retreat. Their wounds, rather than weakening them, seemed to fuel their advance. "We have confirmation," Captain Mal announced, his voice shaking. "The humans have given this strategy a name. They're calling it the Walker Protocol after the first incident." In the original Resistance stronghold, Tom was meeting with military leaders from around the globe via secure channels. Despite his still healing wound, he had become the face of humanity's counterattack. "The aliens don't understand what they've done," Tom explained to the gathered commanders. "By hurting us, they gave us something more powerful than any weapon, they gave us a reason to show them who we really are." One of the commanders, her arm in a sling from a recent battle, nodded in agreement. "They thought injuring us would break our spirit. Instead, they've created an army of warriors who have nothing left to lose and everything to prove." Above the Earth, Admiral Rex received the most troubling report yet. The Empire's psychological warfare AI had completed its analysis. The more the aliens wounded humans, the stronger their resistance became. It was an exponential equation that could only end one way. "Sir," Dr. Vix said quietly, "I believe we've discovered why no other spacefaring civilization has successfully conquered Earth. The humans, they've evolved beyond normal survival instincts. Pain doesn't weaken them, it transforms them. And now that they know this frightens us." She didn't need to finish the sentence. On every screen in the command center, injured humans were emerging from hiding, advancing on alien positions with the same unstoppable determination that had started with one wounded soldier taking a single, defiant step. The Stellar Empire's greatest strategists gathered in an emergency council aboard their flagship. The holographic chamber hummed with nervous energy as three-dimensional maps showed the spreading pattern of human resistance across Earth's surface. Each red dot represented another injured human leading a charge against alien positions, and the map was lighting up like a Christmas tree. "The humans have adapted our tactical retreat into their advantage," Admiral Rex announced, his scales now permanently shifted to an anxious pale color. "Every time our forces pull back from an injured human, 10 more wounded warriors emerge to push the line further." The Empire's master tactician, General Krill, stepped forward. His cybernetic enhancements whirred as he analyzed the situation. "In all my centuries of warfare, I have never seen such a phenomenon. These humans have turned their medical bay patients into frontline shock troops." Down on Earth, resistance hospitals had indeed become staging grounds for counterattacks. Tom Walker visited one such facility, his own wound still bandaged but healing. The wounded soldiers didn't lie in their beds waiting for recovery, they sat up, stood up, helping each other prepare for battle despite their injuries. "The aliens think our wounds make us weak," Tom told a group of injured fighters. "But pain is just another way humans measure their strength. Every scar is a lesson, every injury a reminder of what we can survive." In orbit, Dr. Vix made another startling discovery. "Admiral," she called, her multiple arms working frantically across different displays. "We've decoded more of their historical records. The humans have a concept they call wounded heroes, warriors who achieved their greatest victories while injured. They've been preparing for this scenario for their entire recorded history." Captain Mal brought up footage from around the globe. In every major city, the pattern repeated, injured humans emerging from hiding, walking straight toward alien positions with unwavering determination. The Empire's troops, despite their superior technology and training, found themselves retreating before these advancing wounded. "It's not just physical," Dr. Vix continued, her voice filled with academic wonder and professional terror. "When one human succeeds despite their injuries, it creates a psychological chain reaction in others. They call it inspiration, but it's more like a viral mutation of their already impossible determination." The Resistance headquarters had become a global command center. Military leaders from every continent coordinated their efforts, using what they now called Walker's strategy, named after the man who had first discovered the alien psychological weakness. "We don't need to match their firepower," Tom explained to the assembled commanders. "We just need to show them something they can't understand, that human strength isn't measured by our ability to avoid injury, but by our determination to keep fighting despite it." Admiral Rex received increasingly desperate reports from his ground forces. The Empire's troops, used to enemies who retreated when wounded, found themselves psychologically unprepared for adversaries who became more aggressive after being injured. "Sir," a field commander transmitted, "they're telling stories about their wounds. Each injury becomes a badge of honor, a symbol that drives others to join them. We can't process this behavior." Dr. Vix's research team had finally compiled a comprehensive analysis of human psychology. "It's fascinating," she reported to the High Command. "Their entire species operates on a principle we never considered possible: the more you try to break them, the stronger they become. They actively seek out challenges that should destroy them, then somehow draw power from surviving those challenges." In the streets of yet another city, a group of injured resistance fighters prepared to advance on an alien position. They shared their stories. One had burns across his back, another a broken arm, a third walked with a limp from an alien energy weapon. But as they looked at each other, there was no fear, no hesitation, only a steely determination that had become humanity's most powerful weapon. "Remember," their leader said, pointing to his own bandaged chest, "these aren't wounds, they're proof that they can't stop us. Every drop of blood we've shed is a reason to keep walking forward. Let's show them what humans do when backed into a corner." Above them, the alien ships began to shift position once again, their crews wrestling with a terrifying realization: they had not merely invaded Earth, they had awakened something their advanced civilization had never encountered before, a species that turned its wounds into weapons and its pain into power. The Empire's high command faced a bitter truth: their invasion was failing not because of human technology or military might, but because of something their advanced civilization had never learned to quantify: the human spirit. "We've lost 30% of our ground forces," Captain Mal reported, his mechanical joints creaking with stress. "Not to enemy fire, but to psychological breakdown. Our troops are refusing to engage with injured humans. They say it's like fighting against something supernatural." Admiral Rex stared at the tactical displays, watching as more and more sectors turned from green to red. Each color change represented another area where injured humans had forced his troops to retreat. "How many wounded humans are actively fighting now?" "That's the most disturbing part, sir," Dr. Vix interjected, her research team's latest findings displayed across multiple screens. "We estimate that 60% of the human resistance forces have sustained injuries. But instead of reducing their combat effectiveness, it's having the opposite effect. They're fighting harder, advancing faster, inspiring others to join them." On Earth's surface, Tom Walker stood at the heart of the Resistance's main command center. His wound had healed enough to leave a scar, a mark that other fighters now viewed with almost religious reverence. The man who had first shown that human determination could break alien morale had become a symbol of hope. "We're receiving reports from every continent," a communications officer announced. "The Walker Protocol is working everywhere. Injured civilians are joining the resistance. Hospital patients are volunteering for frontline duty. Even the elderly with old war wounds are coming out to face the aliens." Tom studied the battle maps, noting how the alien forces were gradually being pushed back by this unprecedented form of warfare. "They came here expecting to find weakness," he said to his fellow commanders. "Instead, they found out what humans have always known: our greatest strength lies in our ability to keep fighting when we should have fallen." Aboard the flagship, Dr. Vix made a breakthrough in her analysis of human psychology. "Admiral, I've identified the core of our miscalculation," she announced, her multiple arms trembling with excitement and fear. "Other species evolved to avoid injury and minimize risk. Humans evolved to endure injury and embrace risk. They don't just survive adversity, they actively use it to become stronger." The evidence was undeniable. Across the globe, injured humans were leading charges that sent alien forces into retreat. Each wound became a story of survival, each scar a badge of honor that inspired others to push beyond their own limits. "Sir," Captain Mal reported, "we're detecting a new pattern in human behavior. They're sharing their injury stories before battles. It's some kind of ritual that seems to enhance their already impossible determination." In a makeshift resistance hospital, a young fighter with a bandaged head told her story to her companions. "The alien weapon hit me here," she said, touching her bandage. "They thought it would stop me. But every step I take proves them wrong, proves that humans don't break so easily." The Empire's psychological warfare AI struggled to process this phenomenon. Its complex algorithms, designed to predict and exploit enemy behavior, crashed repeatedly when trying to analyze human responses to injury. Admiral Rex received a priority transmission from the Empire's High Command. The message was brief but unprecedented: conduct full strategic review. Question: have we awakened something beyond our understanding? In response, Dr. Vix submitted her final analysis. The humans have a saying, what doesn't kill them makes them stronger. We assumed this was metaphorical. We were wrong. They have developed a biological and psychological mechanism that converts pain into power, transforms injuries into inspiration, and uses near defeat as a catalyst for victory. In short, we have invaded a planet where the more we hurt the population, the more invincible they become. Tom Walker stood at a window in the Resistance headquarters, watching as another group of injured fighters prepared to advance on alien positions. Each one bore their wounds differently, bandages, slings, limps, scars, but all shared the same unbreakable determination in their eyes. They came to break us, he said quietly, touching his own scar. Instead, they taught us just how unbreakable we really are. The Stellar Empire's flagship erupted in chaos as final reports flooded the command center. Emergency lights pulsed through the chambers while Admiral Rex faced the holographic projections of the High Command. The images flickered as he delivered the most difficult speech of his career. Esteemed Council, he began, his scales shifting through colors of distress, I must recommend immediate withdrawal of all Empire forces from Earth. We are not facing mere defeat, we are facing something that could destroy the very foundation of our military doctrine. The council chambers erupted in protest, but Dr. Vix stepped forward, her research team's final analysis projected behind her. The evidence is irrefutable, she declared. Every wound we inflict creates a new warrior. Every injury breeds 10 more unstoppable humans. We are not fighting a war, we are feeding a phenomenon that grows stronger with each attack. On Earth's surface, the Resistance had launched its final coordinated offensive. Tom Walker, his original wound now a proud scar, led a column of injured fighters through the streets of what had once been downtown. Each person in his group bore their injuries like armor, their determination having long since transcended mere pain. All units reporting ready, the communications officer announced in Tom's earpiece. The Walker Protocol is in effect worldwide. Every injured fighter is in position. Admiral Rex watched in growing horror as his tactical displays lit up with thousands of human signatures, all advancing simultaneously. His troops, the finest warriors in 17 conquered systems, were falling back in disorder. They're everywhere, Captain Mal reported, his mechanical limbs trembling. The injured humans, they're all moving forward. Every single one of them. Our forces, they can't handle the psychological impact. The troops are reporting mass panic. Dr. Vix's voice cut through the chaos of the command center. Admiral, you need to see this. The humans, they've linked their communication networks. They're broadcasting their stories, their wounds, their determination. It's not just a military strategy anymore. It's become their identity. In cities across the globe, the scene repeated itself with devastating effect. Injured humans emerged from every hospital, every shelter, every hiding place. They walked forward with unwavering purpose, their bandages and scars visible proof of their resilience. The alien forces, faced with this unprecedented display of collective human determination, began a full retreat. High Command, Admiral Rex transmitted, we are witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. The humans have weaponized their own injuries against us. They have turned their wounds into symbols of power. Our presence here has not weakened them, it has revealed their true strength. Tom Walker stood atop a fallen alien vehicle, watching as the massive ships above began to move. Around him, injured fighters continued their advance, their very presence sending waves of alien troops scrambling back to their evacuation points. Sir, his radio crackled, we're picking up transmissions from the alien fleet. They're ordering a full withdrawal from Earth orbit. The news spread across the Resistance networks like wildfire. In every sector, injured humans pressed their advantage, walking steadily forward as the alien forces fled before them. What had started with one wounded soldier taking a defiant step had evolved into humanity's greatest victory. In the Empire's flagship, Admiral Rex prepared to transmit his final report to the High Command. "Let this be recorded in the Empire's archives," he dictated. "Earth is hereby classified as an interdiction zone. The humans possess a quality that defies our understanding, the ability to transform their wounds into strength, their injuries into inspiration, and their pain into power. We did not fail to conquer Earth, we succeeded in revealing why it should never be conquered." As the alien ships disappeared into the atmosphere, Tom Walker stood among his fellow fighters, each bearing their own scars and bandages.